Does former President Trump risk inciting more violence on Saturday with this statement in support of the January 6th attackers? What was your reaction to that?
Well, Jim, the best thing that former President Trump could do would be to simply stay out of this. His role in inciting the riot on January 6th that resulted in the deaths of several police officers and disgraced and defaced our nation's capital and put so many at risk, I think is a deep stain on his record of service as President of the United States. But President Biden is focused on moving our country forward. The U.S. Capitol Police are making adequate preparations. We in the Congress did appropriate several $1 billion after the January 6th riot to strengthen the perimeter and the security of the Capitol and to provide badly needed and deeply deserved support for the U.S. Capitol Police. So I'm cautiously optimistic we'll get through this weekend without more incidents of violence, but they are prepared to protect the Capitol. And frankly, as President Biden showed in his remarks today, he's focused on moving us forward and on helping the country get out of the pandemic, recover from the recession, and be on a stronger footing going forward.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that in just a moment. But first, we're just learning that the House Select Committee is seeking Pentagon documents to learn more about the January 6th attack and what the Joint Chiefs Chairman did in the last days of the Trump presidency. Do you have any concerns about how General Milley reportedly reviewed nuclear protocols and handled a call with his Chinese counterpart? How did the Joint Chiefs Chairman do in that situation as it's been reported, do you think?
Well, Jim, I haven't obviously had a chance to read the book, Peril, but based on press accounts, on excerpts from the book, my impression is that he was preceded by Secretary of Defense Esper in reaching out to his senior Chinese military counterpart, and he did so based on intelligence reports that the Chinese believed we were preparing for a sneak attack. And so what he was doing from press accounts is well within the purview of his role as chairman of the Joint Chiefs and in partnership with the then Secretary of Defense to reach out and try and diffuse those tensions, to try and avoid a preventable exchange. Look, China is an increasingly assertive regional and global military power, and I think if the chairman of the Joint Chiefs acted as it's been reported, as I've understood it, and that was briefed to and shared with other military leaders in the intelligence community, this is squarely within his lane to avoid needless conflict with other countries based on the intelligence he had available at the time.
And getting to the Biden agenda, President Biden is touting his economic agenda, saying the country faces an inflection point. But does he have a plan to convince moderate Democrats that you see, who simply don't see the need to spend what Biden wants to spend on this huge, what's been referred to as a human infrastructure plan? What are you saying to convince some of your colleagues to get on board?
Well, Jim, President Biden met in person with Senator Sinema and Manchin. He's been actively engaged over the last couple of months in helping members of Congress who are centrist or who are more progressive understand and embrace his agenda to reduce the costs for working families, to reduce the cost of health care, of daycare, of higher education, of workforce training, and to make the investments we need to make over the coming decade to make sure that we're positioned to grow and grow quickly. I was thrilled in August when we passed on a bipartisan basis a landmark infrastructure bill, and now we are working in the Democratic caucus to pass the follow-on investment that's badly needed to make it possible for Americans to get back to work by providing more affordable access to high-quality preschool and daycare, by reducing the cost of health care, and by making sure that every American is paying their fair share of the cost of moving forward. It's not clear to me exactly how much this package will ultimately cost, but I'll remind you it'll be spread over 10 years, and it'll build a more solid foundation under America's middle class. So President Biden's very persuasive, and I think he's making the case and making it well.